I'm Johan Siebers, and I am the Associate Professor for Philosophy and Religion in the School of Law, based in the Department of Sociology and Criminology. The research that I'm engaged in is centered to a certain extent on this area of social philosophy, social thought, and it goes a little bit wider than that as well. It looks at social theories that help us to understand the social world, but it also tries to look at the history of these theories, and it tries to look at some of the more ethical questions that are involved in it. I think if I want to explain what most of my research focuses on, I think I can use the word kernel of hope. That is something that we are all familiar with. Sometimes we have hope, sometimes we don't have hope, individually, but also as a society. At the moment, I think a lot of people are very weary about certain developments in the world, but at other times people feel hope. It is my idea, and that's of course not a very original idea, that hope is an essential element of human life, whether it's individual human life or collective human life. And I try to understand how this process of hoping works and what hope means for human beings. And I look at that question from a philosophical angle. So that means I ask fundamental questions about hope. What is it? What is the relation between hope and desire? What are the normative aspects that apply to hope? Those sorts of things. Also the metaphysical aspects of hope. So to what extent could we say that the world itself, everything that is in some sense unfinished? Yeah? That's an important idea. I look at that idea historically. There are other thinkers who have thought about this, and I study their work and write about them. But I also look at it in terms of how people engage with hope today, in day-to-day life today. So I work with social scientists to investigate processes of community formation, processes of community cohesion. How do communities come together? How do they formulate themselves, their identities around a certain idea or a certain desire or a certain hope? And I try to then explore this, talking to people, getting an understanding of it. So that's one of the big aspects of the work that I do. So one of the ways in which I sometimes present the philosophical side of this research, because you could ask what is philosophy, what does it really try to do, and there is a helpful way of thinking about it, which a critical theorist, Cornel once expressed by saying there are three aspects to life. There is individual existence, there is our collective existence in society and in politics, and there are the ideas that we have about the world in which we live and how this world is developing. And with respect to existence, it's our own individual existence. You might say what confronts us from a philosophical point of view on a daily basis is the fact that we are mortal, that we're going to die at one point. So we are finite. Life will come to an end. What does that mean for our, in principle, infinite capacity for desire? We want things, we long for things, and there seems to be a clash between what comes from our inside, this desire that we have, and our mortality, the fact that we will die. So philosophy tries to articulate what desire means in the face of death. And with respect to the political and the social aspect of our lives, you might say that we try to live in relationships that are free, that are based on equality, and that are based on solidarity. But very often we find ourselves in relationships that are determined by power and by domination. And so you might say philosophy from that perspective supports democracy in the face of structures of domination. And then you might look at how we think about the world and our ideas, our understanding of the world, which is imperfect, but which we try to improve. But there as well, we are confronted with the human tendency towards dogmatism. We try to find fixed answers and stick to them, and then even start to oppose these dogmatisms in struggle and strife and violence. And their philosophy tries to maintain dialogue in the face of this dogmatism. So these three aspects, dialogue in the face of dogmatism, democracy in the face of domination, and desire in the face of death. These are the three things that Cornel says philosophy deals with. And I try to approach these three factors from this particular interest in the kernel of hope that we find in all of these three spheres. I try to connect them and do something useful with them. Yeah.